Hello, all you wonderful people. Liam Simcox here for Three Lives Gaming, and welcome to the Three Lives Gaming podcast. I'm joined on the show today by a very special guest, one of my all-time favourite YouTubers. Welcome to the show, Nathan Saunders from The Checkpoint Show. Morning, mate.
Hi. Are you right? Thanks for having me on. That's all I'm going to say. Goodbye.
And that's it. Thanks. No, see you later. That's all this week's podcast.
Thanks for having me on.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. But no, it's...
More content from me.
Thanks for coming on to the show anyway, Dan. I do appreciate it. This is the gaming podcast where we talk all things gaming, up and down the generations, in and around the world. So, and then obviously we'll be talking about, obviously, your YouTube channel, what the work that it reflects and stuff like that. So without any further ado, let's get into it. So obviously we'll touch on the first one, like what would be your first all-time gaming memory?
Oh, that's a hard question.
Started off easy then. Start off easy.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. The thing is, when you're like me, you spend your whole life playing video games. Like it literally just blurs into one eventually. I'm like, I can tell you the first game I remember playing is Killer Instinct on the Super Nintendo, I think it was, or the NES. Like to the stage that the TV we had for it back in the 90s was one that we had to. It didn't have an on button. It had like this thing that you had to pull out of it, and then you turn it and tune it, and then that tunes in the color. Wow. So then you got to tune the color of the screen to get the game going, and to obviously so you can see what we're playing. And I always remember, playing Killer Instinct and being really crap at that. That's like that's a prominent memory of me being like, this is why I love video games. But
of course,
like I don't know, for me, like when I really started to remember playing video games, it would probably be Siphon Filter on PlayStation 1.
Great game.
Yeah, me and my sister would just play the multiplayer all the time. And we were just obsessed with it. Like to the stage that like when you're a kid, you used to go outside and play with other kids. I would just want to play as characters or pretend to be characters from Siphon Filter because I was so obsessed with it. Like, and quite early on that showed me that it's like, one, a game can be just as good as playing with friends outside because you can play multiplayer games, you can do whatever stupid things in games. And two, stealth games are the best genre, and they will always be the best genre.
Yeah,
like early on, I fell in love with stealth. Like, I just couldn't believe it.
No, I've got to say, like, I completely agree. Like, I like those kind of games. So obviously, your games like your Dishonored, which is a personal favorite of mine, Hitman. Yeah. Which I'm just in the process of getting into. I first played it way back when on the PlayStation 2, and I could never really get into it. And then obviously, like, it was a PlayStation Plus free game a few months ago. Downloaded that, give it a go, and I'm just in the process of playing it at the minute. And I completely agree. I do like those kind of games, and I'm more of the adventure game sort of thing. Like I like something with a story behind it and a meaning and stuff like that, rather than obviously, like we were talking about this in the last podcast, was talking about FIFA and Call of Duty, and it's like lazy fun, if that makes any sense whatsoever. It's not something that you can play while the world is revolving.
Don't have to think about it.
Exactly. While everything's going on around you, you know, like you can play it and just relax and stuff like that. But obviously, like your games like The Last of Us Part 2, The Witcher, Skyrim, all them things that you want to get sucked in and be a part of, that you enjoy, really, to be honest.
Yeah. No, see, I totally agree in the sense that like there are games that, you know, we just before we started the podcast we were talking about Fast and Furious. Yeah. There are games where it's like much like those films. I can't stand them, but I've seen every single one of them. And next time one comes out in cinema, I'm going to go in cinema in a heartbeat because I know I don't have to give a damn if it's good, bad. I don't care because I'm just here for stupidity, and that's what I'm here for. And games like Call of Duty, like I've completed every single campaign of a Call of Duty game because I just enjoy it. I enjoy I enjoy the over macho-ness of it all. You know, it's like, lock and load, boys. It's like, let's go. Like, I love that. I'm just like, yes, let's do it.
And then it drops you in the mission with a pistol, and it's like, okay, maybe not then.
Lock and load, boys.
Lock and load.
But surprisingly, don't get me wrong, games like The Last of Us 2, for example, I find incredibly fun. Like because obviously Naughty Dog, I think it was like by Uncharted 4, they introduced a system where you can just replay encounters. So after you complete the game, you just replay encounters and then just see how you do in like moments in the game. And so many times do I just throw on The Last of Us Part 2 just to run around and play with the physics and, you know, just go buck wild in certain encounters with characters to see how they react, like when you do overly violent things. And I don't know.
You begin feel alive? No, let me take this shotgun to your temple.
Sorry, you want to die? Yeah,
I'm not a psychopath, I promise, but you know.
And that's the same, and that is the same with Hitman. So Hitman 3, for example, I played Hitman 3, you know, I should say Hitman 1 to 3, all of the whole trilogy of the new games, played all of them through, and now you just sort of, they're now my games that I play. Like if I'm cooking dinner, if I'm waiting for a game to install, I'm like, all right, let's just kill a man. And I use them as that they've become my downtime game, because it's something easy. So it's a mechanic in a game that I understand, but it has enough to experiment with, that even when you're playing it for 5 minutes or so, you can find yourself doing something new and something like entertaining, you know.
Yeah, of course.
It's like, but it's still kind of brain dead in its sort of way.
I mean, obviously, the take away the realism in Hitman. Obviously, like there's been the memes and videos going around of like killing someone with a banana or throwing a suitcase to someone on a jet ski, and that suitcase is like, you know the one, and it's just following that guy on the jet ski, and it's like, oh wow, this is like the Fast and Furious of video games, sort of.
And I think what's interesting about Hitman and what I love about the new trilogy is that it's like a really fun game of like chess, because if you understand the rules of the game, then the game, it just sort of all comes together. So for example, a big rule that a lot of people don't know about Hitman is when people are walking and NPCs stop, walk, look around and turn, they will only and always only turn left. So you can literally stand by next to them, and then when you see them about to relax and turn, just walk right to their right, and they won't be able to see you. And but it's a fun rule that they haven't changed, because they understand it's like a core mechanic of like enjoying the world and understanding how these weird NPC robot people work. Yeah,
of course.
Yeah, it's great.
But no, it's that's what I mean. I do like those games like that. It's silly, but you know it's silly. And it's not like, you're not there in the comments like, oh, well, this should be, he's thrown it at a 30-degree angle.
Yeah.
It's only inflicting a bruise, like, you know.
It's not a silencer, it's a suppressor, actually.
It's like, oh, shut up.
This is not how guns work. All right, okay. All right. I can see you in comments. Don't be that guy. Don't be that person. Just don't do it.
That's not how you snap an egg. How do you know?
You're 13. How do you know? Well, I've watched Fast and Furious 15 times. All right. Okay. All right, Steve, go back to bed. You know, but then obviously, so I'd imagine then, obviously, like your game of 2020, like the Hitman series, or was there something that distinctly sticks out in your mind as the front runners, though, like this was it for 2020? Tough question. Again, sorry.
Oh, the thing is, 2020 was such a good year. No, it wasn't. Now I need to look up. What games I've played. 2020's. 2020 was. Oh, best. See.
This is like, like on the spot. I do apologize.
No. I haven't really thought about it.
Oh,
because 2020 had so many good games.
It was
good games.
It was an awful year for, obviously, with the world being on its backside, but a great year for video games, like you say.
Yeah, I think. See, Half-Life Alyx. I love Half-Life Alyx. I think Half-Life Alyx was such a good escape of a game, like you just sort of enjoy it and just. But okay, here it is.
Okay, the moment you've all been waiting for, ladies and gents.
Despite I made a video on Resident Evil 3.
Yeah.
And it's the video is Resident Evil 3 didn't deserve its one-liner because, in my opinion, Jill Valentine in that game is way more scary and threatening than the Nemesis is. And and the problem with that is that you sort of tarnish the legacy of what Nemesis should be. He should be scary, should be intense. But when you play Resident Evil 3, you just run through it like Rambo, and you can have fun with it. And you know, the Jill, the voice actor, I can't remember her name right now, but the voice actor of Jill, like, just put so much energy and like so much badassery. Is that the word? Like into her character, that when you play it, you feel great. And I think that Resident Evil 3 might have been my game of the year because I literally played Resident Evil 3 over and over. Like even after I 100%ed it and got all the collectibles, all the special weapons and stuff, I was still just playing it because
I wasn't expecting that, to be honest. But I think it's a really good shout. It was painfully short, and it was it was obviously they took out a lot of things that were in the original PS1 game and implemented new things. So obviously, like it was painfully short, which is no one wants to see, and I think it didn't warrant the price tag that it had at the time. So obviously, like you're paying £40 for a AAA game, and it was painfully short. And I feel like they took out things that made Resident Evil 2 good, but on the flip side of that, Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3 are two completely polar opposite games. I think anyway.
They're two completely polar opposite games, and even in the remake and in the originals.
Yeah.
Like you got to remember, Resident Evil 3 was the action reply to the people who couldn't get into the first Resident Evil and Resident Evil 2 because they were too scary or they were too focused on like puzzles and things. Where Resident Evil 3 was like, okay, we'll make a game where you play as this cop who's gun-ho and there's it starts off with her cartwheeling or front flipping out of an exploding building. Like the original Resident Evil 3 said, this is what this is. Like from the word go. And I think Resident Evil 3 Remake captures that. Like, and obviously I understand the thing where people think it's too short. And I'm like, Resident Evil, every single Resident Evil can be completed within about 2 hours. I remember speed running Resident Evil 2, I think it was about 2 hours, 10 minutes on hardcore mode.
I love that game. So good.
The problem with Resident Evil 2 Remake and Resident Evil 1 Remake is they're too perfect, in my opinion. Like, I strongly believe Resident Evil 1 is my favorite game of all time, by the way. Resident Evil 1 Remake is my favorite game of all time, followed by Batman Arkham Asylum, but that's another subject.
Oh, what a game. I could sit and talk about Batman Arkham Asylum all day. 100%, all trophies, everything.
Yes, yeah, twice. But yeah, so the problem with Remake and Remake 2 is that they knew exactly what they were doing. Like to the stage that it just they're so focused. Resident Evil 2 Remake is so focused. It's so perfect. It knows how to do the zombie horror. It knew how to do the action. It knew when to ramp up the tension and when to slow it way down. And then obviously Resident Evil 3, everyone was expecting that same sort of thing. Everyone was like, yeah, I can't wait to have more of that. But forgetting that Resident Evil 3 original was more of a horror game than any of the others. So when people got what they got, they were like, this isn't Resident Evil 2 Remake. It's like, no, it's Resident Evil 3 Remake.
Yeah, come on.
Different game entirely.
Exactly. But I think, obviously, taking from that, the Resident Evil 3 Remake, as good as it is, and I like it, there'll be people that don't like it, and that's completely fine.
Yeah.
But, I think the Resident Evil 4, Remake, do you think it'll take things from how well the Resident Evil 2 did, or how Resident Evil 3 did, or do you think they'll take bits from... Because I think they should take bits from both of the remakes that they've done and then implement it into the Resident Evil 4 remake, which I'm looking forward to, and that's another game I could sit and talk about all day. But we'll not go there yet.
See, I'm really annoyed about Resident Evil 4 remake. Resident Evil 4 doesn't need a remake, in my opinion.
I completely agree. That game is like 15 years old, 16 or something like that, and it still gets played to death, like even now.
This is going to hurt a lot of people, and it's going to tarnish my Resident Evil fanboy like persona that I have. But I didn't fully complete Resident Evil 4 until it came out on Xbox 360.
Oh yeah.
Like I played it on PlayStation. I played it on PlayStation 2. I played it on Wii, but I never. Because I was stubborn and stupid as a kid, I was like, "This isn't Resident Evil. I want puzzles and I was just like, I was that kid.
You've got Barry just popping up saying you're almost a Jill sandwich.
And so it took me 8. So when I got around to playing it, and even when I played it, I must play it like recently. Like I say, recently about a year ago. But hey, like it's so fun.
Oh, God,
it's so timeless in its tension, its music, its atmosphere. It just how did they do it? and it's one of the, sorry, but it's like it's one of those games that's like, how did it turn out as good as it did, despite it being changed, cancelled, and created Devil May Cry, Haunting Grounds, and whatever else it made? How did it go so perfect?
Exactly, and it was like the first game in the franchise that didn't have zombies, and it was zombies, air quote unquote.
Romero zombies.
Yeah, you know, and but still, it didn't tarnish it. It didn't tarnish its reputation. It didn't deter people. Like I'm that idiot, ladies and gents. I am that idiot that bought it on the PlayStation 2, on the PlayStation 3, on the PlayStation 4, and same I did on the Wii. And I think at one point, and I'm showing my age right now, I think I had the chainsaw controller.
Oh, the controller.
Oh my god.
Wow. Yeah.
I bet that's worth a wedge now, but I had all those, and I'm just that idiot because I love that game that much, and it's pure nostalgia. Even though you're playing it on obviously the last generation of consoles, for you lucky people out there that have got an Xbox Series X and a PS5, us unfortunate people in the UK can't get our hands on a PS5 right now. It's just pure nostalgia for me, and that is my game that I could play over and over and over again, as is like Batman Arkham Asylum and stuff like that, and just experience it. And I love the villains, I love the characters. We'll not talk about Ashley, Leon. But it's, to me, that is, I think, like a lot of people's favorite Resident Evil game.
Yeah, the thing is, and it's completely understandable. Like, it is one of those, like, I'm one of those people that, despite Umbrella Chronicles, is that what it was called? Do you remember that one? That multiplayer, not Operation Raccoon City, but Umbrella Chronicles. I don't think there's ever been a bad Resident Evil game.
No. There's been bad moments in Resident Evil games.
Yes, like, there's bad moments in every game.
We'll get to Chris punching the boulder in a second. But that's... See, I was talking to a friend about it the other day. Resident Evil 5, fine, it wasn't Resident Evil 4. Resident Evil 4 changed the game. It's never going to be Resident Evil 4. No.
Resident Evil 5, to this date, is a multiplayer masterpiece.
Yes.
Resident Evil 5 is one of the most fun co-op games you could probably play.
Completely agree.
To this day, you'd like to play Resident Evil 5. Okay, and it's okay. Yes, it's got controversial, character designs, and when you go after that tribe in a swamp for no reason, just to get and obviously it's odd that it's like, let's be the strong bulky white man to kill the tribe and then leave. Like, why has that happened in this game? It's odd. But despite the controversial moments, the game itself is just fun. It's nothing but just pure joy all the way through. And Resident Evil 6 is like we was saying earlier, Resident Evil 6 is that Call of Duty equivalent of you don't need to think when you play Resident Evil 6. It's a fun game. It's stupid. And it's one of those, yes, it lost the identity and story of what Resident Evil or whatever it was trying to be. But I have completed Resident Evil 6 more than Resident Evil 4. And I think that says a lot.
Wow. Wasn't expecting that, but...
I've played Resident Evil 6 and 5 so much. But hey, I'm the person who adores Resident Evil Survivor. So.
Yeah, no, I completely see where you're coming from. But what do you think, to, obviously, touching on Resident Evil, was the Resident Evil 7? Obviously, that was a completely different direction. That was all in first person. It was jump scare galore. If you play it in VR, you need a new pair of pants every 5 minutes. I mean, what did you think to that? Obviously, it went down a different route.
I loved it.
Brought to the table.
I loved it. I mean, I made a whole video dedicated to me loving the change of Resident Evil 7. Because what Resident Evil 7 did, what Resident Evil 4 did, and it was we need to reinvent our own wheel, and we need to make it just as scary but feel similar. And they did it in such a clever way. Because it felt like a Metal Gear Solid game for some reason, in the way that it was building itself up. It's we're going to show you this tech demo. What's it called? Kitchen. What's this kitchen got to do with anything? Don't know. And then you play the Resident Evil beginning hour demo, and then you realize, oh, this is the kitchen from the kitchen tech demo.
Yeah.
Okay, so kitchen's got something to do with Resident Evil 7, but what's all this stuff going on in this demo? And they just didn't give you answers. And that's what I loved about Resident Evil 7. It was very much the same vein of Resident Evil 4, when it's why is Resident Evil 4 all of a sudden, over the shoulder? What's this new virus? And it just asked you to play it to understand the new change in direction. And I think that's something that Resident Evil does so well. Like, it's just like they can throw a weird curveball into Resident Evil, and they'll be like, this doesn't make sense. It's like, it doesn't make sense until you play it.
Yeah,
it's like,
exactly.
It's like, oh my God. and I just think Resident Evil 7 it did such a good job making it feel familiar but unfamiliar. And it's that unfamiliar side that made it feel so scary, because you're going into this new house, new virus, and new claustrophobic setting, but like in a world that is plagued with zombies and mutants and stuff. So you what you're walking into, but you don't know what you're walking into. To an extent. And it's just it's exciting, and I love it. And I'm curious where number 8's gonna go, because I'm probably one of the few people who's like not hyped for 8 as much as I wish I was.
Just the big vampire lady.
I love the big vampire lady.
I know. I've seen the pictures.
She's a drag icon
on your Twitter. So yeah.
So I'm excited to see how all this just comes together. But like, I don't know. There's something about it that just doesn't feel good to me. Like Ethan as a character, for some reason, I'm excited for Ethan, but it's like, now you're making Ethan a main character and you're still not really showing his face. Like, even in the official artworks, he's just a blacked out face. And it's like, it makes it feel like there isn't a real main character sometimes, where, the problem with Resident Evil 7's Chris DLC is you didn't feel like you was playing as Chris.
Yeah.
Because when you see Chris, Jill, Claire, hell, even if you see Barry, you expect to see these characters in third person, because they're like the star of the show. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like watching Star Wars, but the whole movie's in first person from Luke's perspective. You'd be like, wait, where's Luke? I want to see Luke in action. Yeah. Like, if they made a Resident Evil game and put Leon in, but said it's only first person, people would be like, no, because I want to see Leon be Leon.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, and that's my problem with Ethan. It's like, so now they're giving him a whole character and they're giving him like character development, but he still doesn't have a face. They're not putting him on the screen. Like, it just doesn't like rub me the right way to be invested in whoever the hell he is.
Yeah, exactly. Like you don't feel for that character then, because obviously like say you want to be involved with that character, and like you're on this journey together as you were in Resident Evil 7, and you want to be attached to that character, go through what they go through and feel what they feel. But obviously if the situation that it is, and it feels hollow, it feels hollow and it doesn't have that same connection as if I was someone else that you can see all the time, or know, at least when you know what they look like. And
like, the reason it worked in 7 so well is because it was, how they advertised it. It's a blank slate for the series. You know what I mean? So our character's a blank slate, and because it's first person, it's like saying this is you going into the horror. But now it's like, this is Ethan now, and you're playing as this badass Ethan who we've never even seen. Like, but, oh, okay, like he just exists. I don't know. I'm just not sold by him. But hey, mate. But the thing is, maybe that's the surprise of 8, though. You know what I mean? Maybe we will see him. Maybe they will, throw something in that's going to be like, oh, it makes sense now. And obviously, that's why I'm not going to judge it. And obviously, I'm a Resident Evil fanboy, so you can bet that I've already booked off all my holidays for the week that's coming out.
That's it now. Like, we'll do a podcast further down the line, like 15, 16 later, and it's like, oh, like Nath's back. Let's talk about it. So, oh my God, this game!
Wow. I'll expect a video out of it. Trust me. If I really love it, I will definitely make a video out of it.
Yeah, of course. So, but obviously, then it leads to my next question. So, would Village be your most anticipated game of this year, or is there one that you've got in the pipeline, or one that you're looking at further ahead?
Oh. Village is definitely up there, but it's more of a curiosity.
Yeah.
Than like you know what I mean? It's like, I'm anticipating and excited, but I don't know. I'm not like,
it's not top of the list.
I need it. Yeah.
I get that.
For me, it's I'm really, and it's gonna sound really odd and like, I guess it's kind of controversial, but along with a Resident Evil fanboy, I'm a Halo fanboy, and Halo Infinite for me, like as a Halo fan, is like the last clinging chance to make Halo what it was. I feel like Halo hasn't had its own identity for years, and like it hasn't felt like the Halo that I grew up with. And I feel like a lot of people know that, hence why Infinite is going back to the old school Halos,
like it's roots sort of thing.
And I think that I'm most excited for that, because I just want it to be good. You know, I want it to be a game that I can play and sort of revisit the past. Like I love nostalgia as like a tool, and if nostalgia is done correctly through video games, it can make some of the best games and some of the, you know, happiest memories of playing these games, you know. So if Halo Infinite can hit that nail on the head and prove that it's a good Halo game and prove that 343 and understand the source and understand exactly the universe that they're growing, then yeah, I will take months off just to play Halo. I love Halo. But to this day, I've never completed Halo 5. I actually started it. I actually started it for the 6th time this year.
Oh, I've got a game like that. I've got a game like that.
I was just playing it and I'm like, this game just isn't good. Like, its story goes nowhere. Its characters are just not great. The moments of like Master Chief being Master Chief are so like far and few in between the moments, and it's just, oh, it's hard. It's a struggle. It's really, yeah. And you know, that's I got off the Halo like hype bandwagon like on Halo Reach. Like, I love Halo Reach. Don't get me wrong, I love Halo Reach, but I just, if that's Bungie saying goodbye and then you had Halo 4 coming out and stuff, like, it just, I don't know, something just felt off to me that just never captured the magic of why Halo was so good to me. As a kid, Halo 1 was one of those memories I had where I went around a friend's house who had the Xbox when it first came out. And we were playing the Halo 1 multiplayer, and I was like, what is this game? Like, because obviously back then it was like completely new. Like, you'd be like, whoa, first person multiplayer. Like,
I have to have
I was like, what is this? And like, and Halo, you know, Halo was the game that got me to get an Xbox. And then I, you know, got Halo 2 on launch night, and I'd love Halo. Like, yeah. So I want Halo Infinite to be perfect. Like, I wanted to be exactly I expect from an old Halo game. Yeah, and exactly. You know, I know it had its problems in the gameplay like that they showed, and obviously I know they defended it by saying that it was an old build and hence why the graphics weren't up to start. And the thing is, that didn't really bother me much. Like, I saw that and I was like, oh, I expect that to change anyway. Like, I don't know, but the fact that they acknowledged it and then delayed it means that there obviously was a bigger problem at hand that obviously they didn't say. But I don't know. I'm excited, despite it look like Play-Doh sometimes. I'm excited to see what it brings to the table.
perfect like description. Like, it looks like Play-Doh. So,
yeah, but Play-Doh can be fun.
Well, that's fun. It. There you go. That's going on title screen. Play-Doh can be fun, maybe. But my game that I keep putting down and coming back to and putting down and coming back to and getting bored of it and thinking, oh, this is crap. Like, I'm really bored of this. And this is going to annoy a lot of people right now, is Skyrim. For the life of me, I just can't get into it. To an extent, like, I can play it. I'm like, I'll play X amount and then I'll get bored, or I think, oh, like, I'm fed up of doing fetch quests or going into killing a load of bandits in a cave and then going away. And then, oh, you know, I've got to work on my voice or whatever it is, my fuss rodar, you know, and then I'll just go off it for a few months and then come back to it, and then obviously start again, and it's like, you're awake, prisoner. So, you know, that was an awful impression, but I don't know. I want to like it. This is my problem. I want to like it, and I want to get into it, but I can only play it to an extent. I mean, fair enough. There's mods out there where you can play as Sonic the Hedgehog wielding a sword or whatever, you know, and you're chasing Thomas the Tank Engine in the air.
And Randy Savage, yeah.
You know, brother. Or you can play as a dog. But I think the vanilla Skyrim, I just can't get into it.
I think, like, if you're trying to, if you're trying to get into Skyrim now, you've practically just missed the boat. Like, it's one of those, like, Skyrim for me was, it felt like when people got overexcited for Cyberpunk, you know what I mean? They expected it to change the world.
Oh, don't go
there. That's what Skyrim was for me when Skyrim came out. You know, I just started college and I was like, oh my God, the next Elder Scrolls, because Oblivion for me is one of my favorite games of all time. Despite people don't like Oblivion because it's not as edgy and like as dark as Morrowind was. It's like, I didn't get to experience Morrowind in the same way people did, you know? I had the Xbox version, which was crap compared to how it should have been on PC. But when I played Oblivion like opened my eyes, because it was like, it's an open world game. You know, you can see the furthest reaches and then run to the furthest reaches. You know, back in 2005, that was like insane. You'd be like, what am I playing? Yeah. And it felt magical. And when I saw that Skyrim was coming out, I was like, Skyrim can only be bigger and better. You know, Skyrim can only be And I remember when I first played it, and I'm like, yeah, Skyrim's kind of ugly, yo.
You've got all these other games that are like immaculate and astonishing, and then you come back to Skyrim and it's just like, ugh.
That's what I mean. Like, you gotta think, so what was it? So Skyrim came out the same year as Uncharted 3, Batman Arkham City, Gears of War 3, Dead Space 2, LA Noire. Those games look incredible to this day.
Yeah.
I remember when I first played Skyrim and I was like, this game is ugly. And like don't get me wrong, I played Skyrim like religiously because I read a magazine. I can't remember what magazine it was. It was a gaming magazine when Skyrim was coming out. It was like, yeah, the campaign could never be, the campaign is so long, you're never going to be able to beat it within 24 hours. So I picked that up. I got it a day early, by the way. I can't say how I got it early, but I got it early. And I was like, I'm going to put that to the challenge. I completed the main quest in 18 hours, and I remember that to this day. I sat down for 18 hours straight, got food, went shops, got Red Bulls, and just sat there and didn't stop playing until I rolled like credits, as they say. And I was like, it was just a game. It wasn't Oblivion. It's just Skyrim. Like, I just felt like Skyrim never had that same magic as the other Elder Scrolls, but I think that's because maybe I just prefer the whimsical nature of Oblivion rather than Skyrim's Game of Thrones persona, you know.
Get that.
It's like edgy.
Buy this game.
Yeah.
But no, I was into Oblivion when it first came out. Obviously, like I think that was like one of the first games that came out for the PS3. And that was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, and then obviously it got to like Skyrim, and I get what you're saying. Like Skyrim just didn't grip me, as much as Oblivion did.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if it's because Oblivion was revolutionary for its time or what. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I that's what I can't put my finger on it. Like it's one of those like Skyrim is a good game, and Skyrim is probably like is technically better than Oblivion in every single way. But there is it is just pure nostalgia and pure like I don't know. I think so many games like back, especially during that, the 360 PlayStation 3 period of games, like were experimenting with the open world genre so much that like whatever Oblivion did was blown out of the water by Red Dead Redemption. You know what I mean? And nothing like topped Red Dead Redemption for years. Like Red Dead was like felt like a real tangible world, you know?
Let me pitch another question to you. So talking about Red Dead Redemption, that's just reminded me of a question that I could ask you.
Yeah.
If you had to pick a perfect game or your best game, your favorite game from each generation, what would they be? So obviously, if you've only ever played PlayStation, what would it be from 1 to 4? If you ever played Xbox, what would it be from Xbox One to Xbox Series X, and so on?
So I've played a lot of generations of games. Okay, easy. Right, SNES. SNES, yeah, so we're going back 1994, so yeah, I wasn't even born then. So Donkey Kong Country is like pure nostalgia for SNES for me. I love Donkey Kong Country. I can still like the soundtrack. It's like
preach it, brother.
Yeah. So yeah, Donkey Kong Country stands out on the SNES. Then I went to PlayStation 1. Then when I think of PlayStation 1, there are some good ones in there.
I know.
Oh no.
Mine was. I'll tell you what mine was while you both think about yours. Mine was Heart of Darkness for the PlayStation 1.
Oh, yeah.
Please tell me, like, I finally met someone who remembers that game.
Yeah, Heart of Darkness. Yeah. Oh, who wrote that? Was it George Lucas? No.
I can't remember, but that incorporated like CGI effects. It was all like 2D with like the artwork and the music score, and it was amazing. That's another game.
That's a hard game.
Oh god, yeah, but that's a game that like it had like 3 or 4 discs, much like obviously the Final Fantasy series did, and it was difficult. It really was difficult, and obviously like you had to think, and obviously it had puzzles and stuff like that. And I love those kind of games, and that was for me my favorite PlayStation 1 game.
Oh, Adonis, yeah, it does stand out. It's PlayStation 1 favorite game, probably Spider-Man, like Spider-Man.
Oh
1.
yeah, the very
Like,
first one. Yeah.
Yeah, and it opens up like Stanley, like, welcome, true believers. And it's like, oh, yes.
Want anything for tea, Nath? No, it's all right. I'm playing this. Just leave me alone.
Spider-Man 1. Ma'am, I'm fighting Mysterio, and his team is amazing. Oh yeah, no, Spider-Man 1, and even I had Spider-Man 2 as well, but it broke. Like that's with
no,
it's called Was it Electro's Revenge on PlayStation?
Enter Electro or
Enter Electro, yeah,
like
but
that.
I got like halfway through it and it broke, and I could never ever complete it. And I was like, oh, but like no, yeah. Number one is probably my favorite PlayStation 1 game, to the stage that my sister actually like bought it for me a few years back as like a gift of like to be able to replay it, and I was just like I just jumped straight back into it. I love it. It's so cheesy, campy, but like
amazing at the same time.
Yeah, and its soundtrack slaps. Like, oh my god. it's pretty good game. Then when did I go after PlayStation 1? The thing is, I know there's obviously you have a question where what is your main console generation?
Yeah.
I grew up in a household, yeah. So I had me, my sister, 4 little brothers, and 1 stepbrother.
Yeah.
We all like different consoles. So we had every single console in the house.
Your parents must have loved you a lot.
Oh, they loved it. So I never missed out on anything. Like, so I remember like talking to a friend. Oh, what was he playing? We was talking about a game in primary, like this going back primary school, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I've played this." Blah, blah, blah. I was like, "Yeah, you should play this." He's like, "I can't." I'm like, "What do you mean you can't play this?" Like, it's like, "Oh, we're talking about Halo 2." Yeah, I was like, "Yeah, you should play Halo 2." He's like, "No, I ain't got an Xbox." I'm like, "What do you mean? Like, what are you talking about? You ain't got an Xbox? Like, sort your life out." Like, so I was that kid.
Edgy. Sort your life out. Otherwise, I'm going to come and find you.
So we'll go to PlayStation 2. PlayStation 2 game. Oh. So why did you ask this question?
Oh, I know. This. Sorry. Oh, this has been the Realize Gaming Podcast.
Thank you for tuning in. I think I'm going to choose a really obscure one. Yeah, and that's because I have the most memories with it. It isn't Resident Evil. It isn't Shadow of the Colossus. It isn't a Final Fantasy game. It's Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3.
Wow.
Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3 on PlayStation 2. I 100%ed. I lost all my memory, and then I bought a cheap. Do you remember you said those Shark cheap? Discs?
The cartridges and the discs.
Yeah. You used to swap them over to activate the cheats. I went to the stage that I got one of those just to get all my like characters back. I used to play Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3 religiously, book sick days, just to set up this game. Yeah, this is a story I don't tell many people. I used to set up this game and then reenact episodes of Dragon Ball Z through the characters, and then like make my own storylines by like having characters fight each other, and then do all the voices like in loading screens to make my own stories. I'm like, oh, Kakarot, you've done this. It used to just. I used to spend time just creating stories in a fighting game, and I have the most fond memories of that game, and I think it's, to this day, one of the best fighting games of all time. I love Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3. So good. So good.
Mine was Beyond Good and Evil on the PlayStation 2.
Yeah.
Where you play as Jade the Reporter with your Uncle Paige, and obviously it's all like a conspiracy, and you've got, spoilers, your Uncle Paige gets kidnapped, and then obviously you get flown to the moon and into this industry. You have to sneak in, and that's like incorporating your stealth, and you have to take photos.
You're gonna hate me. Hate me.
Oh God, don't tell me you don't like it.
I got the definitive edition on the Xbox One, I think, came out, or 360. I just couldn't get into it. I tried. I'm just like, I am not feeling it. Like, I get it, and don't get me wrong, I get its appeal, and even to this day, like graphically for a PlayStation 2 game, like it still looks pretty good, like in the animation department. But I feel like I just missed the boat on it. That's a shame.
Probably, but no, I was bigging this up to my girlfriend like a few months ago, and I was like, "Oh, you have to play this game. Like, it's a female lead character. She'll love it, and all this. Like, you can take pictures of animals. She'll love it. It's a conspiracy theorist. She'll love it." Played about 10 minutes, and she was like, "I just can't get into it. It's boring." I was like, "What? No. What's happening?" Like, and I can see, I can get it. Like, don't get me wrong. That would be my personal favorite on PlayStation 2, and then obviously it went to 3. And this is where it gets difficult for me for PlayStation 3, because I adored, and it is way up there, the Dead Space trilogy.
Oh yeah,
oh my god! I played the first one well over a dozen times from start to finish. It is up there as one of the best games I've ever played.
Yeah, it's one of those, like, it took what Resident Evil 4 did and made it better.
Yeah,
like Resident Evil 4 is a masterpiece, yes, but Dead Space is like
next level.
Resident Evil 4 is an action masterpiece, but Dead Space is a horror masterpiece. Like, it knows how to scare you. Like, I could agree. Like, Dead Space is such just a trilogy. It's so good. Like, even number 3 has its problems, and and I don't think its co-op is as fun as, you know, Resident Evil 5, going back to that or whatever. But as the ideas and where the story was going, it's like, obviously I'm not going to spoil the ending, but it makes sense for, you know, it's for him to have PTSD and for him to just not give a hell, you know, give a damn what's left in life. You know what I mean? He's been through a lot. So however that game ends and wherever he goes from there, it makes sense for Clark to end up in that situation. I enjoyed where that game was going. I think it had pacing issues. I think the villains were kind of lame, like the cultist leader who looked like Elton John. I wasn't really a fan of that. But and obviously the necromorph design as well, I didn't think was as strong, because obviously they're old necromorphs, weren't they? So they're all like decayed and stuff. And I'm like, nah, you want to see them like with fresh guts coming out and things like.
But I mean, like, would you like to see? Obviously, they're remaking the Mass Effect trilogy, but would you like to see a Dead Space trilogy remaster, or do you think
yes,
it's sort of like,
oh, please?
Yeah, I know. Honestly, like obviously we follow each other on Twitter, and like the amount of stuff I just put on, just like, oh, there's news about Mass Effect. Okay, now do a Dead Space trilogy. Come on, just give us what we want.
Like, I'm excited for the Mass Effect trilogy, and don't get me wrong, I love Mass Effect. I played it the worst. I was the worst shepherd in the galaxy, to the stage that it was really funny. I remember playing number 3, and there's a part right before the end of number 3's rubbish ending, where a character's like, "Oh, do you want to talk to characters that you've met through your journey?" And then usually you meant to have like a whole like list of like characters you met. I didn't have a single one. No one wanted to speak to me.
No one wanted to be a friend.
And my sister was like, "What did you do?" I'm like, "I don't know. I just no one likes me."
And I was just like, I don't know what I did wrong. Like,
everyone else was wrong, not me.
Yeah, you're the one with the problem, not me. I'm going.
I love Mass Effect, but yeah, I would kill anybody right now to get a Dead Space remake. So don't come near me. No.
Same.
Like, and just how good it could look. Like, to be fair, Dead Space 2 and 1 and even 3, they look beautiful. Like, to this day, Dead Space 2, I think, is the best looking one.
Yeah.
Like, if you've played it now, you just see, it just
so much brown, like everywhere.
Yeah, but it's just a spectacle masterpiece when things explode. It's like,
and like the zero gravity just diving through, like,
it was so good.
But for me, like the dilemma I've got, obviously in the PS3 department, is either between Dead Space or Red Dead Redemption.
Oh.
I'm sorry, I've put you on the spot again, but
see, Red Dead is Rockstar's masterpiece, in my opinion.
Yeah,
like I think Red Dead 2 is okay.
Yeah,
like Red Dead 2 is a technical masterpiece. Red Dead 2 was like, we're gonna push the limits on what we can do with a game, you know, and we can make the most beautiful, realistic, I'd say interesting story. But the problem is it's so slow paced that it's like you've edged the border of Western simulator. You know, the good thing about Red Dead Redemption 1 is that it didn't have that feeling. You know, it still felt video gamey in some parts. So because I guess it was relating back to the old Red Dead Revolver on the PlayStation and
PlayStation
Xbox.
2, yeah.
And that was the Capcom arcade shooter. And then, Rockstar turned it into what it is. But Red Dead Redemption 1 is such a charming game. Like, it's full of so much memories. It's a powerful story. Its multiplayer was addictive, more addictive than GTA 5's multiplayer, in my opinion. I've never ever even completed GTA 5. I was so disappointed by GTA. Like, I love Grand Theft Auto 4. Like, and people hate 4 because it's a little bit more gritty and because it's like its physics were all like very realistic and stuff. And people weren't a fan of that. Yeah. I really appreciated 4's like tone. Like, and I think like it doesn't get enough love where it should. But like, yeah, Red Dead Redemption 1, I can't like, and the fact that they made like the zombie DLC and that made it an entirely new experience. You know, Undead Nightmares felt like a horror DLC to a game that shouldn't have been a horror. And when you go into it, it's just a fun arcadey shooter where you just
lose yourself zombies. In it. Yeah, just having fun with it.
And also not just like the zombies being everywhere, but it did something different by saying you can only kill the zombies by burning them or shooting them in the head. And you got to think there were so many zombie games at the time, like, you know, Dead Rising and Call of Duty Zombies, Left 4 Dead and stuff, where the whole fun of zombies is just spray and pray, you know, and just, you know, let blood fill the rooms. But in Red Dead Redemption's case, it was you're getting chased by, you know, 3 zombies. That can cause an issue if you don't have 3 bullets on you, because you have to shoot for the head or you have to burn them. And it just created like an entirely new like strategy to zombie games for it to just be a small DLC. And it's like, how did they not go back to it in Red Dead 2? Like, and I'm worried that if they ever did, but I don't think they will, because I don't think Rockstar actually care about Red Dead Redemption 2. Like, I feel like they did what they did and realized it wasn't making £1 billion like every day like GTA.
Like GTA 5 is. Oh.
Yeah. So they're not going to do like the same sort of DLC, but would it be the same? Like, and I don't know. That's a hard thing. Red Dead 2 is one of the best games on 360, maybe, or PlayStation 3. I don't know. You got me thinking.
This is what I like on the show, like just getting you going and stuff like that.
Well, before we go to PlayStation 3 and 360, I still played the GameCube and Xbox.
Oh, right, okay.
So obviously GameCube, I would have said Resident Evil remake, but I didn't play remake properly because I wasn't able to get it at a young age. I didn't play it properly until it came out on 360, the HD remaster, I think it did. So then I really appreciated it.
Yeah.
When I think of GameCube, it would be Luigi's Mansion 1.
Oh, love
and I think Luigi's Mansion 1, in my opinion, is Nintendo's best game today. I love Mario's games. I love Breath of the Wild. I think Zelda's great. But Luigi's Mansion 1 did something different for Nintendo.
Yeah.
You know,
down a different route that we'd not seen before.
Yeah. They're like, okay, we'll keep to the Mario side-scrolling thing, but we'll throw a bit of horror in there. But Luigi's Mansion 1 felt intense. Like, as a kid, I couldn't play that game in the dark. Like, yes, it's silly. Mario, the ghosts are like, whoa. But like, but it was intimidating, you know, like when you're walking around the dark halls and you've got that dum. It's like, oh, like you really feel it. Like, yeah, I think Luigi's Mansion 1 is just a masterpiece that they've never been able to recapture.
You weren't having PTSD every time you heard an Uber go on, were you?
Yeah. Mom. And I think the problem with Luigi's Mansion 3 and 2 is they're too cartoony and kiddie.
Yeah.
I think number 1 is filled with like personality and like its ghosts are like semi-realistic, and you have the most simple ghost, for example, is like the woman just brushing her hair, but you can only see her when like you're facing away from her and the lightning strikes. It's like elements of like horror there. Like, did I just see that? Like, what was that? Like, but then you get like Luigi's Mansion 2 or 3 and you just got big purple goofy ghosts who ate a key by accident. It's like, woo, it's spooky. It's like, no, it isn't. It's dumb. Like, I want scariness. Like, give me that. Give me horror.
Yeah, just scare me. Like, come on. Like,
yeah, make me feel intimidated by these wacky ghosts. Like, the fact that Luigi's Mansion 1's like first real boss is a dead baby. Like, what? Like that's insane. Like,
yeah.
You introduce this child screaming and crying in a bed. Wait, Nintendo just made a game about a dead child and now fight it. It's like, oh my god, like
this is fine. You stood there with your vacuum, just like, do I have to do this?
Yeah, it made just Luigi's Mansion just feel so different to anything that Nintendo have like done in the Mario universe. That is anyway. Like, and I appreciate and love it for that. And I think when it comes to the original Xbox, we're talking about favorite game on that, is a game that not many people were not many people have played, but it was also the main game that made me start my channel. And that's Stubbs the Zombie.
Oh, right, okay.
Stubbs the Zombie is a game where you play as a zombie who's come back from the dead and wants to find his wife and infect the whole entire city to get to her. And it's gory as hell. It's a hard game. It's fun. It's got a great soundtrack, and no one ever played it. And it's like, why did no one play it?
What is wrong with you people?
It's like, oh yeah, and it's so nichey, you know. It's not for it's one of those games where it's like it's not for everybody. Like you're a slow, like walking zombie. You have to eat brains to get health back. Like it's a bit like destroy humans, but if you're a zombie, and it's like yeah, that's a jam.
That's a game. That is a game.
Yeah. And I think when I was playing Stubbs the Zombie, even like recently, like a few years back, you know, my friends were like, "What are you playing? What's this game?" I'm like, "You've never heard of Stubbs the Zombie?" And I'm like, "I need to tell the world about Stubbs the Zombie," and then hence I made the channel.
Why don't you just play GTA 5 instead, like everyone else? Well, I don't want to. All right.
Oh yeah. So it would be Luigi's Mansion 1 for my GameCube and Stubbs the Zombie for original Xbox. And I think Stubbs the Zombie is actually getting a HD remaster coming out in March.
I do believe,
rumored. So if that is happening, I will probably cry.
And you'll not be going into work.
Yeah. I'm like, no, playing again.
I'm sick. I'm not very well.
I think if we're talking about PlayStation 3, Uncharted 2 is a masterpiece. Last of Us is great, but Uncharted is so fun. Like it's just charming. It really like put Naughty Dog like on top of their game. Like, you know, if you play Uncharted 1 and Uncharted 2, like there is a difference. Like you're like, wow, okay. Like, and it really showed like what their capability was with graphics and motion capture and their writing and Nathan Drake's personality. The action set pieces are just it's like an Indiana Jones game, but if it was just not Indiana Jones. And I love it. I just think it's worth everybody's time. Uncharted 2 alone is just worth.
I just think Uncharted as a whole, as the gaming series, is worth playing. So if you don't have that, go out there, download it, or wherever you get your games from, just give it a blast. Because in my personal opinion, if I had to put them in order, it'd go Uncharted 1, Uncharted 4, Uncharted 2, and then Uncharted 3, which I liked, but I just couldn't get into it as much as the others. I think Uncharted 1 is up there at the top because obviously it was like a whole new genre of game. Obviously, before that we had like Tomb Raider, which was only really the main one that stood out in my mind. But then obviously Uncharted came in and set the gaming industry alight, so to speak. And like I say, it put Naughty Dog on the map. Obviously, like they've done a
Crash
lot.
Bandicoot stuff, but like their modern stuff, like
exactly.
How it showed that they understand how to make games with real humans rather than just talking animals. Like, Uncharted is like one of those games, or one of those franchises where it's like, I hope it never continues. I think the fourth one finished it, and it's like it's a perfect little bundle that doesn't need to be anything else than what it is. Enjoy it, like just play it, and I love it because of that. Where The Last of Us is not as much of a perfect little bundle as people hoped.
No, now look, next year we'll be, like I said, we'll be coming back, having another conversation. It's like, so let's talk about the Uncharted reboot.
Yeah,
why? Just why? Just put it in the bin. Leave
Why
it
did
there.
they make him an alien?
That speaks Klingon. What do you mean he doesn't speak Klingon?
Yeah.
Spock and Drake in the same universe, confirmed.
Amazing. Just to be fair, the only time I think Uncharted should come back is if they ever did Lara Croft meets Nathan Drake. Like, oh, please.
Oh, yeah.
What a universe that would be.
Yeah.
Those two. I was going to say, because I am actually, the video I'm editing today is a video dedicated to Uncharted and how it like changed the formula for adventure games.
Wow.
So I'm excited because I'm talking about Jedi Fallen Order and how Fallen Order just felt right as a Star Wars game. Like it had the Uncharted cinematic set pieces, it had your character falling down, taking a hit. And like it just had these moments where it's like, this feels so good as a Star Wars game. And it felt like 1313, where 1313 obviously was going to be an Uncharted clone of Star Wars. There's no secret about that, let's be honest. And I'm talking about how that feels like Star Wars' formula feels right at home with this Uncharted formula. And that's because the Uncharted formula is a spin on the Indiana Jones formula, which is also written by George Lucas. It's like there's one thing George Lucas knows how to do, and that's the spirit of adventure. And that's why Star Wars in an Uncharted formula just works. It just works. But like it just works. It feels just right at home. But yeah, I'm currently working on that at the moment. So I have just replayed through Uncharted games, and I'm just they're timeless. I love them.
Oh no, that's another game that you could just lose yourself in, and like
definitely
just involve yourself with it. And I think like he's such a relatable character. Like Nathan Drake is a relatable character, and someone that you can have a laugh with, and he's not two-dimensional, as I like to think, as I like to call some people, because some people are like that. You know, they've got the looks, they've got the charm, and that, but they've got no personality, and it's like, come on, I want to relate to this person, and I feel like you can with Nathan Drake. But going on from that, then obviously, like we're talking about your YouTube channel. So my next question for you: what was your inspiration to start a YouTube channel, which obviously we've discussed?
Yeah.
And where did you get the idea for phobias? Obviously, on your YouTube channel, you've covered well-known phobias such as arachnophobia, which is the fear of spiders, and claustrophobia, which is, of course, the fear of confined spaces. But the ones that fascinate me are the ones I never even knew existed, such as hylophobia, the fear of forests, scophobia, the fear of being stared at, and my personal favorite, thalassophobia, which I suffer with myself. There's something about large bodies of water and dark depths, which even just thinking about it is making me uncomfortable. And is your most viewed video, I do believe. At the time of this podcast, it has nearly 1.8 million views.
Yeah, that's mental.
That's surreal.
That's insane. But it's also incredibly frustrating. Because I know it's not my best work. It's one of those, it's like, it was an unscripted video that I was like, okay, so we'll talk about the motivation of the phobias. I've always felt it, yeah? I play a game that involves deep water, I will panic. You know, I'll talk about it in the video. I play Jack and Daxter, and there's something that eats you when you go in the water, you know, Banjo-Kazooie, Mario. Even in Halo, if you remember in Halo 1, you could drive out to the Halo rings and just go endlessly in the ocean. That, as a kid, would give me a panic attack to the stage that my stepbrother, if I pause the game to go get something, my stepbrother would like drive out and then pause it. So when I come back, I'm in the ocean, and then I'm like, and no one understood it. Like for years, like it wasn't until Ark Survival came out. And we was playing it with a bunch of friends, like back in the early days when it came out. We was playing it with friends, and I got knocked off our raft that we made, and I screamed and turned off the computer. I must have been about 17 or so, and my friend got really annoyed at me. He was like, "I'm sick of you screaming when you're in water because you overreact all the time." I'm like, I'm generally not overreacting. I'm going to die. I'm going to have a panic attack. Like, and I was like, what is this about? Like, because I remember watching Jesse Cox, you know, the Let's Play YouTuber.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
Jesse Cox. I was a very big fan of him back in the day, and I used to watch his Far Cry series. And it's this one episode where he has to go out to the ocean, and he's like, and he falls into the ocean. He's like, "Eagles, you betrayed me!" And he's just having a panic attack. And I remember like really like having a panic attack along with him when watching it. And I was like, okay, so I'm not alone in this. And also, like, I know Markiplier has the same fear as well. So I just looked it up. I was like, what is this? What is the deal with this? Why does everyone panic? And it's like, okay, thalassophobia. And I was like, okay, someone has to have had thalassophobia in video games because it has to simulate like the effects of it. And I looked it up on YouTube, and not a single person really touched on the subject.
Wow.
And I was like, you cannot be serious. Like, I was like, I need to explain this. And I literally just there in that moment threw up the microphone and just spoke, no script, just spouting bollocks. Like I say, I'm from the UK. We're not really sea people like America or Hawaii. America and Hawaii are the same. British Navy, we are sea people, famously, Nathan. Like, I was just like, so now, every day I wake up with either a handful of comments saying the same things. America or Hawaii, idiots.
Get back to eating your scones and drinking your tea.
Yeah.
Jolly good.
Another one is, I cannot believe he didn't even talk about Subnautica.
Oh,
why didn't I talk about Subnautica though?
I feel sick just thinking about it. Like, no. In VR as well, like, just put me in the bin. Just put me in the bin. Leave me alone. I'm gone. Oh,
so I mean, that did really well, and as a video, and I was like, okay, phobias in games can exist, and how do game creators play on those phobias? And I'll say, just over time, and even still now, I'm working on my phasmophobia in video games video, and it's interesting just to see how it evolves. Like, so for example, like phasmophobia, the fear of ghosts. A lot of people will think of the game Phasmophobia, think of Fear, you'll think of Fatal Frame, but like the part, but the part that people don't think about are the games that are playing on like the same fear that like the Ring and technology, and it's cursed and there's a ghost that lives inside it. And I want to look at like not just the games that are about killing ghosts, but the games that have this entity that says to you, there's a ghost in this game, and because you're playing it, you're now in trouble. And I think like and that just plays on that phobia, and I think it's exciting just to it's fun to dive in games and just see how they play on them. Like Red Dead Redemption 2, for example, with hyleophobia, the forests in that game are horrible, and Rockstar know it. They know it. They know, let's make the forest as scary as possible, and we're going to put the worst things in here. And it's incredible what you'll find like when you look into phobias, because it's fun to talk about, and everybody has a phobia.
Yeah, of course.
But every phobia can be a little bit different, and because of that, there's so much opportunity for any creative medium to play on those phobias. I mean, gives way.
Like I said, my biggest one was obviously thalassophobia, and I can't to this. I know what it stems from is I can't even watch Jaws without getting sweaty hands. But like, this is going to sound so embarrassing, and I'm going to get ripped to shreds for this. Even as a young kid, I were only young, like you're talking 4 or 5, probably a little bit older. And I was having a bath, and my dad would purposely stand outside the door of the bathroom and play the Jaws theme song. So and then obviously every time you went swimming with school, God, can you remember that? That's going back. Went swimming with school or just swimming as a whole, I'd be scared to go to the deep end. I'd be scared to go swimming in the sea because, I'm not saying you're going to get sharks and that in Brighton Beach, but you never know. You never know. Just like, on a 1 in a million chance. There's a great white that's just turned up at Brighton Beach. Great, thanks. That is the main one that sticks for me, and it preys on me. And obviously games like Jaws Unleashed, where you are the shark, and it's like, nah, there's going to be a bigger shark.
That's exactly what I say in the video. I'm like, no. This is a video game. There's something huge out here.
It's like, I can't just go around killing people for no reason. There's got to be someone after me that, surely there'll be a mutant shark or a giant killer whale or whatever, and it preys on me. And games like that, like Ark, like Black Flag, and games like that, and I can't play it, and I will put the controller down and just step away and like, nah, I'll come back to this in maybe 5 or 6 years when I've grown some balls and I'll play it, But no, I really do find them fascinating. Obviously, like your videos about phobias, and obviously like the one talking about the fear of forests, hylophobia. Blair Witch is another one that is like that gives me that. And obviously it starts and it's bright, you're fine. And then it gets dark. And then obviously like you've got Slender Man as well, and that's another one. And I really do think it's fantastic bits of work that you're doing. Obviously, I didn't even know about it. And obviously me being from Yorkshire, I was calling it thalassophobia, like an idiot. Like an idiot, but it's it's thalas. You're scared of your partner's girlfriend or or your mate. Your mate's girlfriend, that makes sense. But and then bit weird. It depends what you're into.
I'm into it.
Hey, that's world exclusive on YouTube. But then obviously we can't talk about video games and productions. Obviously we're talking without talking about COVID-19, and of course Cyberpunk, and obviously the disruption to the production of it, and CD Projekt Red are being held to ransom, and Cyberpunk is, to put it bluntly, broke.
Yeah.
It was designed for, in my mind, it was designed for the PC. It wasn't designed for the base PlayStation 4, the base Xbox One.
Yeah. So no, it's just, it is just a game it was a game built on hope and dreams, wasn't it? Like it was like it has to be perfect, otherwise that's it. It's the end of the world. Like, yeah, it is. It's. Don't get me wrong. I don't own it. I even from the first trailer. I don't know. Do you remember the first trailer with the woman and like she's like got the police around her and stuff?
I don't own it either, but obviously, like it's just like we were touching on this on the last podcast. Is I have eyes, and like there's let's plays and reviews and gameplay.
Oh yeah, if you're in the gaming community, you cannot avoid Cyberpunk, and I think it's a cautionary tale. I think it's an important moment to sort of say, one, stop expecting game companies and a new video game, especially someone like CD Projekt Red. Like, yes, we get it. The Witcher game was great, but Witcher wasn't great at the start. Witcher had many problems when it first came out. So don't expect perfection out of the gate. Like,
such a big project as well.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It's not going to be immaculate, 100% working perfectly.
Yeah. Don't expect it to change your universe. Like, it's at the end of the day, it's a video game. And it's not just a video game. It's a video game. It's a first-person RPG made by a company that's only had experience in making card games and Witcher third-person adventure hack and slashy RPGs. Yeah, like you are going to experience, like, it's not going to be the next best first-person shooter because it clearly wasn't their field. Like, they wasn't advertised to be the best first-person company. That goes to Respawn Entertainment, in my opinion.
Yeah,
exactly. Too.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Yeah.
Most underrated games.
Yeah, that's another cautionary tale. That's another one where it's like that got released around Battlefield 1 was
one. Yeah, I think it was.
It was just shoved aside, and
there was no.
It deserves so much love.
Great game.
But with Cyberpunk, I just think people put too much anticipation on a game that was. Yeah. At the end of the day, it was just going to be a game,
and too much pressure as well. I feel like obviously, like gaming companies have a job to do as we all do, and obviously conditions are different. It's COVID-19; we can't work in studios or wherever they do the work, and a lot of people will be working from home, and it's not the same. You know, the quality of work won't be the same. But I think it just needs, like obviously I was touching on this before, it needs more time. It needs putting back in oven, leaving it for a few months, doing some more work on it, and then taking it out and then being like, right, this is it. Or it could have been, instead of putting it on last generation of consoles, obviously like your PS4, your Xbox One, and saving it and putting it out on PS5, Xbox Series X, because is obviously touching on the price of the game is £40-50 or something like that, and I just think it's extortionate. I don't think it's fair on the people that are supporting that company, that are supporting that game and that fan base, and they're paying £40-50 for a game that is effectively broken at this moment in time. And I mean, this is a game that got put onto the PlayStation Network and taken down because it was broken. And I think, you know, I do feel for CD Projekt Red and everything like that. And obviously, like you've touched on about The Witcher 3, it wasn't perfect on launch. And I don't think a lot of games that are great now were perfect on launch. I mean, a game I like a lot is No Man's Sky. And when that got released, it was a hot mess, to put it bluntly. But even now, obviously, updates and the work it's had done to it, and obviously it's incorporated what they promised. It's a brilliant game now.
Yeah, totally. Going back to what you're saying, like it needed more time in the oven. It's a very similar thing to Resident Evil 3, for example. A lot of people felt like it come out a year after Resident Evil 2. That's like, in my opinion, as a Resident Evil fan and as someone who really enjoyed that game, it could have easily had another year or two. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just accept that you're going to have fans. Yeah, and yes, you're going to disappoint them if you delay a game or whatever. But for yourself as a company and as your as your I can't even think of the word, but yeah, just for yourself and like just to make sure that you can reinforce it being a good game. Don't be afraid to say, okay, it ain't ready, so we're gonna
exactly
put it in another year. But the other problem that came out with that is imagine if it got held back. So say it got held back, say 2 years. I think it needed another 2 years rather than a 1 year, in my opinion, because it needed to. It just needed a big quality control, which they were obviously lying about, or at least the up tops were saying don't tell the truth. But like they're saying, oh yeah, it works perfectly fine on last generation and stuff, but it obviously didn't. I think the problem with if they've delayed it for a year or 2 years is in 2023. God, that makes me feel like I'm in the future.
I know.
So if it came out in 2023 and then you're like, oh yeah, an Xbox One and PS4 game coming out in 2020, no one's going to buy it.
Yeah,
but from the word go, because they revealed it so long ago, you know what I mean? It had to be on those generations of consoles because they promised there and then that it will be on that console and it will be on the next gen consoles.
Yeah.
So if you release a game 4 years after those consoles are already practically dead and off the shelves, no one's going to buy it. So it would just be a waste of printing money, whatever. So they had to get it out while the last consoles were still relevant, and that was on them. Yeah. And that's just what happened. Like they couldn't delay it.
No, exactly. I completely agree. And I think, obviously, in the time that it was announced to where we are now, technology has changed significantly, I think, anyway. I mean, you could be a PC gamer, you could build your own PC, and then a year, 2 years after you've built that PC, half of the stuff that's on that PC is old, and you can't use it anymore, or it don't run as smoothly as it could be for the stuff that's been released now, so to speak. Yeah. So... And I think that's the problem that it has, but I don't see anything wrong with delaying games. And I think it feel like some game companies are hard done by and they're pressured into releasing it straight away. And then you've got other game companies that will just release it whether it's broken or not. Yeah. I'm looking at you, Bethesda, and I'm looking at you, EA Games, or EA as a whole, just EA.
Yeah.
And I don't see anything wrong with it. And I honestly don't. I would rather wait another year, another 15 months, whatever.
Yeah, totally. And I think in the long run, it would have been better for them as well. But this has tarnished them as a company. I think. No one's gonna trust them. No. Like the next game, we're announcing a new Witcher game. It's like, oh, are you? Let's see how you do. Like, it's like we'll believe you when we see it. They've shot themselves in the foot, and it's not fair on the people who are so passionate who are making the game. And it's horrible that people would like send in death threats and moan. It's like exactly. It's not the people who made the game. It's the people who said no, we have to release it now. Like it's like that's not their fault. Like
exactly. It's not
so sad. It is terrible.
But we've all been affected, obviously, by COVID-19, and obviously it's a global pandemic, and it's a situation that we're all in, and we've all got to work together, and we've got to follow rules. And maybe come end of year, you'll have games that are immaculate or where they started off the year terrible. And I think it'll have a knock-on effect. I think, obviously, the COVID-19 situation that we're in is having an effect on a lot of gaming industries. And
I will be genuinely surprised if Resident Evil 8 is as stable as Resident Evil 7 was on launch. Like Resident Evil 7 came out when COVID wasn't a thing, but now it's been being made since Resident Evil 2, maybe even Resident Evil 7 released, so it's had time to cook, sure, but this last year and a half, there's no chance that it's been able to be up to scratch as they would expect it. So I will guarantee that Resident Evil 8 is going to be a buggy mess and it's going to fall apart. But
you heard it here first.
We will see.
You heard it here first. But no, I think that's it. That's all we've got time for today. So first of all, thank you for coming on to the show. Really do appreciate it. Thank you for coming on.
It was great. I loved it. It was awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. And if you want to give Nathan's channel a view, check him out. He's on YouTube, The Checkpoint Show. I would really recommend it. It's one of my favorite YouTubers, so show him some love. I'll put his description and his link to his channel down below. Check it out. Give it a subscribe. Show him a bit of love.
Thank you.
Why not? So, but no, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to leave a comment, maybe even subscribe and support a small YouTuber like me. That's it. That's it. Let's do it. So that's it. Thank you very much. Take care of yourselves and take care of each other.
Bye.
See you later.